Hello and welcome to Nigeria, the road to 2019, a series of programs where Arise News places the audience and the choice at the heart of our coverage of the upcoming presidential elections. I'm Charles Anyegolu. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, all the news, comment and analysis that provide unrivaled insight into Nigeria 2019, including, as we continue our coverage leading up to the elections, we talk to one man who believes he is the one to lead Nigeria in a greater, more prosperous and safer direction. He's a former Minister of Special Duties in the previous administration of the PDP, and this week he's formally declared his intention to contest for the presidency on the platform of the PDP. We begin with another installment of our dialogue with the candidates and aspirants, assessing their policy proposals and their chances as Nigeria heads towards the 2019 presidential elections. As that ballot approaches, the yet-to-be formalized campaign has resolved itself into a hoarse exchange between what one pundits called two barking dogs, while the ruling All People's Congress, or APC, is warning us against a return to the days of unbridled greed, corruption and a free-for-all under the previous administration. The opposition People's Democratic Party, or PDP, is frightening us with the threat of 4 more years of an APC government that they say has impoverished Nigerians and has allowed communal violence to fester. The question is, who will emerge victorious through the fever of this campaign to usher in a new deal and a better Nigeria? Well, today, as we continue our coverage leading up to the elections, we talk to one man who believes he is the one to lead Nigeria in a greater, more prosperous and safer direction. He's a former Minister of Special Duties in the previous administration of the PDP, and has this week formally declared his intention to contest for the presidency on the platform of the PDP. So, without much ado, let's meet the presidential aspirant and former Minister of Special Duties under former President Goodluck Jonathan, Alhaji Kabiru Tanimu Turaki, who joins me now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you, Charles.
I know it was difficult for you to get here. You had a lot of things to do, so we do hugely appreciate your presence.
The pleasure is mine also.
Take us through your background, where you've come from, who you are today, and how you got there.
Well, there isn't much about me to say that is not known in the public domain. Like you said, my name is Kabiru Tanimu Turaki. I'm a lawyer. I'm a senior advocate of Nigeria by the special grace of God. I'm an indigene of Kebbi State. I'm from Birnin Kebbi, and all my life, that is from qualifying as a lawyer, I've been engaged in very active private legal practice. Of course, I also play politics, and at some times I had vied to become the governor of my state. I've attended
And what happened to that attempt to become governor of your state?
Well, the first one, almost towards the time of the election, the then head of state, General Sani Abacha, died, and the whole process had to start from the beginning. And then we were in the politics again of the Fourth Republic, and I won the primaries of my party.
What party was that?
That was APP.
Right.
And for some reasons, the process was manipulated, and then somebody was given the ticket. And so when that happened, I said, okay, I will go back now and then get something that nobody will take away from me. And so I dusted my wig and gown, and then I worked hard again, and then I became a senior advocate of Nigeria in 2002. And of course, for me as a lawyer, that is the best thing that can happen to me, because for one, as a professional, to rise to the apogee of your profession, the zenith, I think is something that nobody could take away from me, and it was more heartwarming. Most probably, if I had become a governor in 1999,
you wouldn't have become a
I wouldn't have had the opportunity.
So how did you get to become a minister then in Jonathan's government?
I became a minister because one, I have been a member of the People's Democratic Party, a very active member for that matter. and number two, there was vacuum as a result of our minister from KB, Dr. Bello Haliru Mohammed, who was the Minister of Defense, leaving the Federal Executive Council, and so there had to be a replacement
right.
in line
so
with
you
the
took
constitutional requirements.
And what does the job of a Minister of Special Duties entail? I mean, you're essentially a minister without portfolio, aren't you?
Yeah, people substantially out of ignorance do not understand that indeed being a Minister of Special Duties is one of the most important key portfolios. Because for one, you are a minister without borders. You are in charge of managing the relationship between the three arms of government and the three tiers of government.
Right.
And then you also had the wondrous responsibility of ensuring that you follow up on key federal government decisions, Federal Executive Council conclusions, and then ensure that indeed that all those decisions were carried out as passed.
Right.
You also manage the relationship between government and other MDAs, particularly those that were domiciled in the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, or those that are domiciled in the presidency itself.
Right. So you were
and
essentially...
then you also now had the responsibility of carrying other key ad hoc assignments,
right,
as and when the president directs.
Right. So you were essentially a dog's body for the president. That's what they would call you in England.
Well,
and that's not being rude. That simply means that you do a lot of, you run a lot of errands on behalf of the president.
Certainly, right, including representing president in key assignments.
Okay, what was it like working in Goodluck Jonathan's cabinet? And with hindsight, do you regret being a part of an administration that has been much maligned as corrupt and essentially dominated by thieving politicians who sat around sharing Nigeria's commonwealth?
You see, the problem is that a lot of people tend at most times to look at things from outside in perspective. And a lot of people talk, and when they talk from the perspective of lack of knowledge and ignorance.
The people who are essentially talking against that government are the people who are in power, and one would imagine that they have access to all the evidence they need.
There may be people who are in power now, but they are not, or they were not in power at the critical times. And let me correct this wrong impression that people keep on having. President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan is one fine and fantastic human being that everybody will love working with.
Well, he must be. He made you his minister.
No, beyond that. This is a person, for goodness sake, that had made a lot of contributions to ensuring that Nigeria remain one indissoluble and indivisible nation under God.
But that does not exonerate him from being placed under the spotlight if there
that is a matter of perception, Charles.
If there are a matter of if there's evidence, and this government has resolutely insisted that there is enormous amounts of evidence to suggest that his government was spectacularly corrupt.
Now, let me say this.
And you were part of that government.
I was part of that government, and indeed I was one of the people that had their activities examined under the microscope after we left. Probably because of the role I played, not only in government, not only in my closeness with the former president, and indeed even the role I played in the campaigns, the presidential campaign as Deputy Director General of the campaign. But here I am. No one single act of wrongdoing.
Yes, well, that's fine for you.
Me. I'm coming, Charles.
That's fine for you.
I'm coming, please.
Yes.
Now, this is one person who had consistently said that his ambition to become president was not worth the blood of one single individual. We went in an election, even though people still hail that election as one of the best that had happened in this country. But I can tell you as a lawyer that there are a lot of malpractices. There are a lot of unwholesome practices in that election.
But he let it go.
He could have.
Right.
He could have challenged that election like President Buhari had done on all the 3 previous occasions that he contested elections.
Yeah, but
he said, let it go.
Yeah, I understand
let
that.
Let it go
I
so that
and
he will look at the bigger picture.
Well,
he will look at the Nigerian project and ensure that Nigeria survives.
Right. We have to move on because this interview is not about Goodluck Jonathan. It's about you. I mean, the fact, of course, is that whether or not he conceded an election that he clearly lost, that does not exonerate him if there is evidence that his government was corrupt.
You
But,
see,
but let's move on.
I'm coming, Charles. I will need to talk on the issue of
very,
corruption.
very briefly, because I really want to get to the main point, which is why we should vote for you as president.
You see, when PDP was in government, even before President Jonathan became a president, it was the PDP that, through the desire to fight both official and unofficial corruption, that set up all the institutions that are now involved in strategic fight against corruption.
I don't see
and
what
for
that's
us in
got to do with
PDP,
an allegation
and for us in PDP,
corruption. Right.
for us in PDP, we started the fight from within. Because if at that time, PDP successive government has started fighting corruption in the rank and file of the opposition, PDP will have been accused of witch hunting the opposition like the present government is doing. So what did we do, Charles? We fought from within.
So
all
this
the
government,
key individuals that were fought, that were investigated, that were arraigned before the court were from the PDP stock.
Right.
Because charity begins at home.
Okay, well, let's move on from there. What makes you think you have what it takes to be president of a complex and paradoxical country such as Nigeria?
A lot, Charles. For one, I'm a fair-minded individual, and that is what we need now. Number two, I'm a lawyer. And as a lawyer, I will ensure that justice is dispensed to Nigerians, to all manners of people, without fear or favor, without ill will or affection. I will ensure that there will be no despotism. I will ensure that rule of law takes its rightful place. Beyond this, I have a lot of integrity and I have a lot of credibility. And I think that this is what we need. We need to ensure that there is that connect between the government and the people of Nigeria, because Nigerians are now beginning to lose hope and confidence in the government. Nigerians are now beginning to doubt whether or not the Nigeria project can survive. Never in our political history have Nigerians been so divided, Charles, along many divides. And so we need somebody who will be able to build strong bridges of friendship across the various divides.
Right. And you
we need
think
somebody
you're that
who will be
person.
able to unify Nigerians.
Right.
And I think I have what it takes
Okay.
to build those strong bridges.
Okay, you certainly have the confidence. You sound very confident.
Yes.
And do stay with us, because we'd like to talk to you more about this. You're watching Nigeria, the road to 2019. Plenty more still ahead, including more from the presidential aspirant, Kabiru Tanimu Turaki. We learn about how he plans to provide opportunities and a level playing field for all Nigerians. Stay with us.
Nigeria. We are 198 million productive people with over 900,000 square kilometers of fertile land. Nigeria's banking system has emerged strong and resilient from the 2016 crisis, which has enhanced our productivity in agribusiness and manufacturing. Come, invest in Nigeria's agribusiness, manufacturing, and value-added mining. Enjoy the Central Bank of Nigeria-led initiatives in funding interventions, stabilized exchange rate, friendly capital repatriation regime, and many more. The Central Bank of Nigeria's robust monetary policy and interventions under President Buhari's administration and positioned the economy to target and attain a GDP growth of 6% with a strong and growing external reserves. Come, invest in Nigeria. Nigeria, ready for business.
Welcome back to Nigeria 2019. I'm Charles Anyekolu. Now, the race to lead Africa's largest democracy is underway. The path ahead could be tough for the ruling APC party, the opposition PDP, and any other party that may contest the vote. But undeterred, many aspirants are lining up to take a shot at the top post, among them the former Minister of Special Duties under former President Goodluck Jonathan, Alhaji Kabiru Tanimu Turaki, who's declared his intention to contest on the platform of the PDP. So what's he got to offer? Well, let's hear more now from Alhaji Turaki, who's with me in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for sticking with us. First of all, let's just talk about the rumor mill. and newspaper columns which are alive with speculation about moves by the PDP to form a coalition of parties and interest groups to take on the ruling APC in 2019. What insights can you give us into that, and how might that affect your presidential ambitions?
Thank you very much, Charles. Before I answer that question, let me correct one wrong notion. I have expressed my desire to seek the ticket of my party to contest for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but I have not yet done my declaration.
Right.
Declaration will entail a process where you invite your supporters, your sympathizers, and other party leaders from all across Nigeria in a ceremony.
Well, you made your intention clear.
Yes, I've made my intention
right. Okay.
clear.
Let's not spend a lot of time on that.
Nigerians are yearning for a genuine change. Nigerians are not happy with this government. Nigerians want a government that they can trust. Nigerians want a government that will make promises and fulfill those promises.
Well, they didn't trust the PDP government.
Nigerians want a government that can deliver. And because of this, therefore, because the party in government, the APC, has failed consistently on all fronts, on all their promises. And so that is why Nigerians are now saying, look, we must now get the opposition to put their acts together, to come together, work together to provide that essential alternative. And when you talk of the opposition, you will not talk of PDP. We in PDP are not saying that we will do it alone. And we're not claiming that we can do it alone. But that is why we're talking to other parties in opposition, for us to come together so that we could form a broad-based coalition that will be able to come together and then give to Nigerians what they want. A government that will guarantee peace, a government that will guarantee security, a government that will ensure that there is food on their table, because every Nigerian family now is hungry.
Right. Let me ask you this.
A government that will build critical infrastructure, which today is either decayed or decaying. A government that will talk, and when they talk, they will be talking honestly, fairly to Nigeria, not a government that will look at Nigerians in the face and lie to them.
Well, the point is that it's one thing to say things, it's quite another to actually do them. And what we're here to find out is how you plan to actually do it.
If we say something, it's something that we've done previously. Nigerians know what we have done.
Yeah, but Nigerians voted you out of office because they were dissatisfied with
democracy. That is the beauty about democracy, so that you always have choices. Now Nigerians have been able to compare and contrast what PDP had done in government and what APC is doing.
Well,
and ultimately now, Nigerians are in a better position to now go back to PDP, because Nigerians have seen that there is no alternative to PDP.
Well,
it's not about propaganda. No, it's about service delivery.
Let me put it this way. Nigerians may be disappointed with what they've seen with the APC, but that does not necessarily mean that they want the PDP back in office, does it?
Well, unless if you are not connected with the Nigerian people. You see, one thing is this. We in PDP have never claimed that we're infallible. We're human beings. We made mistakes, but we've learned from those mistakes.
Right.
And because we've been able to own up that indeed as humans we made mistakes, that is why Nigerians are now willing to say, come back PDP.
Okay.
Continue to do those good things that have endeared you to us. And having now learned from the mistakes you've made, then avoid those kind of mistakes. But these were honest mistakes. Yeah. These are not deliberate mistakes.
Well, you may well have a point, but let me ask you this. Are there clear ideological differences between the APC and the PDP? If so, what are they?
Now, let me tell you this. If you look at the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, now, every political party or every association that seeks registration as political party is expected to draw inspiration from the fundamental principles and directive principles of state policy. Now, so because of this, therefore, you will discover that most of the manifesto of these political parties, because you are drawing inspiration from virtually the same source. Now, most of the manifesto documents of the political party, you see them, they are substantially the same. But it's in the matter of implementation. That is where you see the difference. So if you are talking about ideology, you may not have more difference on paper on what these political parties have in their manifesto. But when you look at the way political parties seek to, formulate their policies arising from their programs and the manifestos of their party, and the way they seek to implement, and in doing so to stay connected with Nigerian people. That is what makes the difference, Charles. And that is where PDP distinguishes itself from other political parties.
Right, okay, let's get to the specifics
yes.
now. Let's talk about security, for example. Everyone is concerned with internal security, the herdsman-farmer clashes in the Middle Belt, Boko Haram in the northeast, the restive Niger Delta region, etc. During the last election in 2015, one of the big issues which the then opposition APC used to discredit the ruling PDP at the time, your party, was the serious security challenges afflicting Nigeria at the time, which forced your government to postpone the elections.
Yes.
Given that, some would say it's a bit fresh of view to now turn around and criticize someone else about how they're dealing with security. How would you deal with it?
Well, I have the advantage that not so many people had, Charles, because while I was in government as special minister of special duties, I also had the onerous responsibility of chairing the Presidential Committee on Dialogue with the Insurgents. And so I am privy to a lot of very critical information in the course of the dialogue process.
Yeah, but you couldn't solve the Boko Haram crisis.
I'm coming.
And
anywhere in the world, Charles,
virtually been solved.
Anywhere in the world where insurgency or terror is fought on two approaches. You do the carrot and stick approach. And that was what we did, and we were winning. Now, I won't allow your reference to the postponement of the election to pass without saying that we did that because that was what enabled us to take strategic control of all the Nigerian territories in the three key frontline states of Yobe, Borno, and Adamawa. And that was why election was held everywhere. Now, look at the situation. In the 2015 election, APC now formulated three issues: corruption, security, and economy. When they discovered that the Nigerian economy was doing very well, they abandoned that issue and concentrated on the two. Now you are talking about the issue of security. And let me say that any political party or any aspirant for that matter that wants to be taken seriously by Nigerians must have a broad-based plan on the issue of security. But where were we? Where were you coming from?
Yeah, but you're talking
yes.
about broad-based plan. You're not talking specifics.
I'm coming to specifics.
Yeah, we haven't got that much time.
I know.
That's why I need to get to
I'm now coming directly to the specifics.
Right.
And that was the issue of Boko Haram. That was the main key security challenge that we had in 2015. Now, APC had given the impression that their candidate was a retired general. As soon as he comes in, by his body language, that the insurgents will drop arms and run away, that he had the capacity, the political will to take decisive decisions. Yes, what has happened? Not only has the present government not been able to contain the insurgents while we left them, not only was they able to say, stay where you are, but there's been a lot of retrogression. They could not control the grounds. And they keep on telling people staying in these key frontline states that Boko Haram had been degraded. What is the result? These people relax, and then they are taken and killed every day as soft targets.
Yeah, well,
but beyond the issue of Boko Haram, when we left government, there was no issue of banditry. Every day now people get killed in the forest in Katsina, in Kaduna, and Zamfara. This government has not done anything about it. Look at the issue of kidnapping, Charles. You are not safe on the streets. You are not safe in your home. You are not safe in your place of business.
Well, that's been a long problem
keep on being
with Nigeria.
Kidnapped every day. Not
in fairness to this government,
not at this magnitude.
It didn't start happening
Look at the issue of herders and farmers. Nothing is being done by this government. And I tell you why. Nothing is being done by this government because the security agencies are working at cross purposes. Okay. They don't work together. They don't share information.
Right.
They don't relate with each other.
So presumably you'll do something about that.
Instead, Charles, they slide themselves.
Very quickly.
If you listen to what the National Assembly said yesterday,
right.
About what the National Security Advisor said before the National Assembly, he himself had admitted to the fact that there is no uniformity. There is no cohesion.
Okay.
There is no synergy.
I've got to get this in because we've literally...
How then will any government be able to provide security to the people in that kind of situation?
We've literally got a minute or so to go. The World Bank recently warned that the education crisis in Nigeria is currently undermining the social inclusion gaps in the country. It said that many students on all levels find it difficult to make a grammatically correct sentence and to complete a simple two-digit subtraction problem. In fact, 3/4 of those surveyed could not complete this simple mathematical task. Are you disheartened by this? And if so, what would you do about such weak skills showing up in the Nigerian workforce? What concrete policy steps would you take to resolve the learning crisis in Nigeria?
I'm seriously disturbed like every other concerned Nigerian world. What can I do? I will go back to what we've been doing that worked. You have to look at the educational framework. You have to adjust it. In a situation whereby APC-led federal government will not take education so serious
You've
as
got
to make
10 seconds
as to make serious
finish.
budgetary application in terms of policy formulation, in terms of the drive, in terms of even understanding the myriads of problems that exist in that sector. PDP has no answer. They have no answer because they are disconnected with the sector itself.
I'm going to have to stop you there. I'm really sorry about that, but we are literally out of time. Alhaji Kabiru, Tanimu, Turaki, thank you very much indeed.
The pleasure is mine, Charles.
Well, that's it for this edition of Nigeria, The Road to 2019. Join us again for a fresh edition tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye, and thank you for watching.